How's it going, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how I organize my physical and digital negatives. First of all, why even bother? Well, it's a fair question. I mean, in this modern world where an Instagram post is forgotten faster than you can even write the hashtags, why bother? And to me, organization is something I do for me and potentially for the future. I'm not famous by any means, but then again, who knows, maybe someday. However, I am willing to bet that anyone who caught the film fever knows that shooting film is more than just posting quick posts on Instagram. It's a process, it's something that is physical and tangible, it's an evidence of the shot taken. And organizing your photos is part of that process. But it's not the most fun process, let's be honest. So what you need is a system that is manageable. Even if you don't like my system, make a system. Something that you can manage. My system only requires 4 bits of information, which is the date of scanning, the camera and sometimes the lens, the film I used, and a few tags telling me something about what happens and where it was taken. First, dating. And I don't mean the awkward first coffee date kind of dating, but something almost as difficult, which is choosing how to date, because there might not be a correct answer for this. Should you write the day of the first shot taken? But what if you then take your 12 months to finish the role? Is that then applicable or correct anymore? And that's why I made the decision to keep it simple, because I will forget to keep track of these things. So I simply write the day of the scan, and that's it. If I scan frequently enough, the dating is somewhat close to the days that the shot was taken. But what if I scan multiple rolls on the same day? Do I then have 300 negatives with the same identical name? Well, no. I give all of them the same date, but I add A, B, C, D, E, and so on for each roll I scan. So if I did 3 scans today, then it would be 25-0819A, 25-019B, and 25-0819C. You don't have to do the same, but dating your film is very important. And the reason I go year, month, and day is because I also use this naming convention for my digital versions, which making it much easier to keep track of all my files, as I can just sort them alphabetically. Now, moving on to the second bit of information, the camera and perhaps the lens. This is a bit more optional, but it is a bit of information that I personally value, as I can keep track of the cameras and how they perform, which is very useful for reviews. The lens part is a bit trickier, especially if you are switching between lenses on the same roll. But do your best and move on. Number 3, the film used, and this is a bit of information you could leave out since there is some information already written on the film itself, but it's not always obvious. Take for example Kodak Ultra Max 400. It's Kodak GC 400 on the film strip and not Ultra Max as is written here. And that's because it's part of the gold series, so the G stands for the gold part and the C is for the film speed. So A is for ISO 100, B is for ISO 200, and C, which is this one, is for ISO 400. The somewhat confusing part of all this is that there's no GA, and meaning there's no gold 100. There is a GB, which is Kodak Gold 200, and then GC is this Ultra Max 400. And they have some slight differences, but they are somewhat in the same region. The point is, if you're comfortable with these kind of codes, then you can save some space in your file names and just use the code or make your own codes. The last bit of information are the tags. I always try to write the location, but the rest really depends on what I shot. I mean, if it's a portrait session with 36 shots of the same model in the same setting, then it's rather easy. But if you spend 12 months shooting anything from family photos to work to parties, then what do you do? And the answer is you do your best and move on. And you write what is most relevant, something that can trigger your memory and be like, oh yeah, right, this is something related to that. Because if you're like me and struggling with the motivation to organize, just focus on making it manageable and then move on. But of course, you should make an effort. You may actually appreciate it later on if you tried your best, and that's it. Of course, you also need a place to put all your film, and my plan is to keep a binder. This one is going to be for 2025, and all the photos taken in 2025 goes into this folder here. And then I'll buy a new binder for next year. Before I wrap up on this physical organization, let's talk about sleeves. I'm still looking for the perfect sleeve, but so far I'm quite happy with these from Hammer. And here are the reasons why. I always look for 3 things in a good sleeve, which are protection, size, and room for text. And what I like about these is how each row have room for a total of 6 exposures, which add up perfectly to 36 exposures on 6 rows. And this actually gives me a bonus row because there's a 7th row. So whenever you have a camera that provides 37 or 38 shots, you still have room for them on the same page, and you don't have to double your film on the same slot. Furthermore, if you scan using a flatbed with room for 6 shots at a time, then it kind of sucks if you've been cutting your film up in sets of 5 instead of 6. So if you have to rescan your film later on, it's just easier that way. So if you can't find a 7 by 6 row kind of sleeve, then at least go for a 6 by 6 sleeve. I think that will make your life easier. A good sleeve also have a place for writing text. And this is where I'm compromising a little bit with these from Hammer, because it's not the exact topics I use, but there's still room enough for me to just freestyle it. And that's good enough for me. You also want protection, obviously, but anything that's called archival approved material, this is usually written on the product itself, so have an eye for that, and you should be fine. Anything is better than just throwing it into a box or something like that. So if you buy sleeves made for film, then you're probably pretty set. Alright, that concludes the physical file handling. The last part is quick, I promise, as we carry over the same principles from our physical copies to the digital files. Personally, I like to know what film and camera was used when I'm editing on my computer, without having to look at my physical negatives all the time. But let's start with the folder structure. My folder structure goes year, film scan, year, month, date, A, B or C, the camera, and then the film and the ISO. So for example, 25-0405A, Mu Compact Kodak 400 Ultra Max would be the name of my folder. I then take this madness a step further and I rename 36 shots at a time. And I name them year, month, date, A, B or C, and the film used. Because when I'm in Lightroom, I can quickly assess what kind of film I'm working with. Is it Fuji or is it Kodak? Is it gold? Is it portrait? And with the number sequence, I can easily find the negatives if I have to maybe do another scan if it was a bit soft. And if I want to know what camera was used, I can still find that information inside of Lightroom by just looking at the folder. Because that's where I wrote Mu Compact. So I can still find that information if I want to, but the most important thing when I'm editing my film is to know what kind of film I'm working with, at least for me. Might be overkill, but I think it's very nice to have this kind of information. And if you want the gold star, you can also add tags to your digital scans. And Negative Lab Pro actually has a couple of pretty cool slots for writing these film-specific kind of tags. I don't get the gold star yet, but I really ought to add some digital tags to my photos, but perhaps next year. Small steps. I mean, this is already way more organized than how I started out. But I'm curious to know how you organize your film and files. Anything you would do differently? Any cool sleeves you recommend? I want us to make the comments section a place for knowledge and discussion. So thank you for watching. And don't forget to like or subscribe. Or don't. If you want to see my photography, then you can drop by my Instagram or my website. But both are work in progress, so yeah. Links in the description, and bye bye.